I want to thank everybody for inviting me here, and it has been a wonderful experience. We've had a lot of great meetings so far, and hopefully my story will encourage you to remain active and excited about all the progress that's being made. 6 years ago, I fought acute myeloid leukemia, and a cord blood transplant was my best and only hope. But I had no idea how that this miracle began so close to home. The world is a very small place. We've just heard Matthew Farrow's amazing story. But his mother, Shirley, was a nurse in my own OBGYN practice in Salisbury, North Carolina. At that time, I had no idea about cord blood's value, or that 25 years later, it would also save my life. Dr. Joanne Kurtzberg at Duke Medical Center and her staff coordinated Matthew's transplant in 1988, and then mine in 2013. An amazing result of research which began in 1970 and continues today as new frontiers are being explored. I want to share with you the vital role that cord blood has played in my recovery and its place in modern medicine. During my 30-year career as an obstetrician, I delivered over 5,000 babies and threw away almost all of their cord blood as medical waste. Why? Because I had no idea how valuable it was, and I was not trained to collect it. The few private family banks that my patients asked me to collect for, the banks just included a instruction sheet in the kit, so the quality and the amount of cord blood that I collected probably was not very good. But then my life was saved by just 4 ounces of liquid. Following my residency at Portsmouth Naval Hospital Medical Center, I served for 2 years at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. We later learned that the base water supply was contaminated by petroleum products, leading to an increased risk of cancers. I then practiced OB in Salisbury for 24 years. Then I focused on GYN surgery, including advanced laparoscopy and pelvic floor reconstruction. Since gynecology is not as hectic as OB and GYN, and I had been working 80 to 100 hours per week, I loved getting to know my patients, and I was very much enjoying life. I had more time for myself and my family, especially for my grandson, Jason Miguel, as he truly became one with nature. I was taking care of my health, jogging 4 to 8 miles every day, and I was finally getting enough sleep, which a lot of my OB audiences definitely could relate to. That helped me to cope when life threw me a curve. On Tuesday, I was seeing patients, and I was planning my surgery schedule. On Wednesday, I was a patient, and my career was over. But my new life is just beginning. I thought I had been in good shape, but when I became short of breath while walking, testing, including the first of 7 bone marrow biopsies, revealed that I had AML. We saw Dr. Bayard Powell at Wake Forest Medical Center, who confirmed that I had a really nasty mutation called FLT3, and that I had a 5 to 10% chance of survival without a bone marrow transplant. He outlined a treatment plan which was to get me in remission with induction chemotherapy, and then to immediately try to find a bone marrow donor. I was admitted after Thanksgiving and spent the next 7 weeks including Christmas, celebrating around a tiny tree, as I dealt with the side effects of chemotherapy. Chemo brain is very real. I had taken 5 books with me. I was an avid reader. I read 1 chapter and I slept 18 hours a day. For the next year, my brain remained very fuzzy. But we did achieve remission, but I was told that a bone marrow transplant was my only hope. We also realized that my working days were over. My partners were wonderful in helping me to make the transition. Throughout the spring, I received maintenance chemotherapy while my doctors searched for a match. My wife Charlotte has said that I must be special. And I guess that's true because at that time there were 23 million adult donors on the registry, now 32 million, but we were never able to find an adequate match. Because there are thousands of variables for each gene, the number of possible combinations is 1.4 times 10 to the 13th power, or 140 trillion possibilities. These odds seem impossible to overcome, but the only reason that matches can be found is that ethnic groups share common factors. The larger the genetic pool, the better the odds. With each mismatch, survival will drop 10%, and the risk of graft versus host disease becomes much more severe. We finally did find our match, with cord blood donated by 2 caring families through the New York Blood Bank and through MD Anderson in Texas. So in May, we drove 100 miles to Duke University Medical Center and met with Dr. Quinn Long. He led us one step at a time through a marathon journey back to health. No one can make this journey alone. My doctors told me that I had to have a dedicated caregiver. Thankfully, Charlotte was with me every step of the way. Speaking of marathons, Duke organized and tracked our exercise as we enrolled in the Tobacco Road Marathon, with 14 trips around the unit equaling 1 mile. We had a trip counter to keep track of each loop and a chart in the exercise room to track our progress. Often we would pass the food cart. I never want to smell steamed broccoli again. After 10 days of complete ablative chemotherapy and total body radiation, my bone marrow had become a blank slate, ready to receive my transplant. After all the preparation, the transplant itself was very simple, just a bag plugged into my IV line. Each specimen had a cartoon character attached to the bag. Marvin the Martian, and Snoopy lifting barbells, encouraging me to become strong. However, nothing is quite that simple. May 29th, 2013 was my rebirth day. But that morning I experienced hard chills, a temperature of 104.5, and went into a coma from septic shock. A code was called and aggressive treatment helped me to respond. But later I fought infection with the loss of my central line, requiring 19 IV placements over the next week. I came within, I had a bowel obstruction requiring 11 days of NG tubes, and came within just 1 day of having major abdominal surgery, which with no immunity, I probably would not have survived. But finally, my stem cells engrafted at day 21, and 5 weeks after 5 weeks in the hospital, we graduated to outpatient surgery treatment. The days were not always smooth. We fought cytomegalovirus infection, graft versus host disease, GI symptoms, liver and kidney failure, and neuropathy. Over the years, I had donated over 3 gallons of blood to the Red Cross. I got every bit of it back and much more, and lots of platelets. My appetite was gone, and I had always loved to eat. Nothing would go down except protein shakes. I lost a total of 85 pounds, and my wife was very concerned about that, but my doctors weren't, because now I was at my ideal body weight. However, much of that was muscle loss, and I became extremely weak. I was readmitted to the hospital with failure to thrive, requiring NG tube feedings and steroids. We started our journey with 5 men and became very close to those men and their families. Sadly, one of our 5 did not make it, leaving behind a young wife and 3 children. Charlotte was always by my side, my caregiver, my advocate. She kept my spirits up and was often my drill sergeant. Her journey as a caregiver was every bit as difficult as mine, and more so. She fought sleeplessness, stress, and worry about our future. But finally, 121 days after our transplant, we were able to go home. I was very weak, but very grateful with a new appreciation for life. Since that time, we have celebrated my new life with friends, music, art, sharing, and volunteering, both in our church and community. When I was diagnosed, I received a healing cross, which I carried and which carried me throughout my entire journey, and today as well. Since that time, I have created more than 400 similar crosses, which I donate and give out freely to anyone who is facing a loss or an illness. We also want to pay back by leading adult bone marrow drives for Be the Match. We are peer counselors for patients facing transplants for blood cancers. I go to OB departments and offices to recruit OBs and their staff to collect this vital resource and to raise awareness through outreach events. And when our granddaughter Savannah was born, her parents donated her cord blood to our local public bank. We sincerely hope that it can save a life just as someone saved mine. More than 80 diseases are currently treated by cord blood transplant, and research is expanding that number every year. As a member of the National Marrow Donor Program Institutional Review Board, or IRB, I see the amazing research being performed in stem cell transplantation and regenerative medicine. Most trials are still in their early phases, but results so far are truly amazing. As the demand for cord blood explodes, we need to spread the word, make cord blood donation routine, and find ways to save more high-quality units. Compared to adult donors, cord blood has many advantages. It is stored and ready for rapid use. Mismatches are better tolerated because it is more naive. Getting difficult to match patients can have a better chance. Cord blood has excellent anti-leukemic effects with lower rates of relapse even when being treated for minimal residual disease. There is a much lower risk of moderate to severe graft versus host disease, just 5 to 20% as opposed to 70 or 80% with adult matches. Unfortunately, less than 30% of our community has any knowledge about cord blood banking, and most only know about private banks. Sadly, with over 4 million deliveries in the United States every year, Nearly 98% of this cord blood is thrown away as medical waste. So we need our obstetricians and midwives, we need everybody in the cord blood community, our hospitals, staffs, childbirth educators to stop this waste. You are in daily contact with expectant mothers and families at the most effective time and are their most trusted advisors. You are in the best position to educate and motivate potential donors. Since the onset of delayed cord clamping, especially after ACOG's recommendations were published, the volume and the number of bankable units has decreased. ACOG defines a delay between 30 and 60 seconds. Now, each bank has its own standards for an acceptable amount of own standards, but high T&C units are harder to obtain with longer delays. Dr. Michael Mitchell is one of our most successful collectors with a very high number of bankable units and transplants. His techniques have been adopted by the Arizona Cord Blood Association and the Colorado banks. And with his permission, I'd like to share some of his pearls for success. First, use 2 clamps as close to the baby as possible and cut between. After cleaning, cannulate the cord with the bevel down. This will prevent the loss of blood during insertion and allows you to lift the needle and stretch the vein and keep it open. Even when the cord appears empty, there will still be more blood flow. So continue to wait while rocking the bag to mix its contents. Patience is vital in collecting a bankable unit. After the cord appears to be drained, continue to wait. Now, all of these are standard recommendations. But in addition, Dr. Mitchell recommends more than 1 cannulation. Reclamp just above the insertion site. Gently milk the cord upward and this will avoid clotting inside the cord. Reclamp higher, clean, and recannulate. As the placenta is expelled into the birth canal, the cord will be seen to fill again. 2 to 3 insertions may help a collection qualify for banking. By carefully cleansing with the Euchlora prep each time, the risk of infection can be minimized. Knowing what your bank requires for volume and T&Cs, work to collect the highest unit possible. The nonprofit Cord Blood Association, chaired by Dr. Joanne Kurtzberg, has established standards for collection and for banking. Cord blood gases must be collected immediately, if required, but there is almost always enough blood remaining after cord blood collection for hospital laboratories. My new life began 5 years ago. It is completely different from my old one. This experience changed my entire outlook. I was once focused on work and personal issues. I was a workaholic. But now I am thrilled to wake up each new day, see nature's beauty, especially through the eyes of our grandchildren. I appreciate the importance of friends, family, and good health. My life is now dedicated to reaching out and helping others and to make a difference. We hear about experiences that people have when they are near death. I'm not really sure if this is what happened to me, but during my coma, I did feel that God was with me. I was surrounded by love, peace, warmth, and comfort, and felt that I was being safely held. All of my fears were wiped out. It is said that angels are always around us. I encountered angels every day, from the doctors and nurses who treated me, to family and friends who were constantly praying for me and sending cards. But my closest angel was my wife, Charlotte, who has been with me for 52 years. She dragged me out of bed each day, made me eat, and made shakes for me when I could not get anything down, walked me around the block when I could barely stand, and who kept me sane. Or maybe not. But my greatest angels are two caring families who, without ever knowing the miracle that they provided, donated their baby's cord blood to a public bank. I wish with all my heart that I could thank them, but never being able to know who they are, all I can do is take this forward. I want to encourage donation and collection for cord blood banking. You too are part of that host of angels. Through your efforts, miracles are made possible every day. So please continue to spread the word and make cord blood more available. With your help, every time a baby is born is a chance to give life twice. A chance to give the gift of time. Time to enjoy friends and family, to watch children and grandchildren grow and explore, to refocus and be more productive and more caring, to develop relationships with God and our fellow men, and give the gift of love. Our first year with our granddaughter, Savannah, has made this entire journey well worthwhile. So, representing all of the transplant survivors who can celebrate life because of everything you do, I want you to know that just saying thank you is not nearly enough. Thank you.